Hey y'all, welcome back. Whoop. Welcome back to another episode of Girl, Is That Legal? With your favorite legal bestie, Attorney Simone. Come on in here, let us know where you are viewing us from. Let me make sure you can hear me okay because it sounds kind of weird on my side. Yes, I'm so glad I had to take a little break from my health. Today was my first day recording. I'm back on my ADD medication, so I'm excited to see how that goes today. But I also have a very important announcement to make, and I'm going to make it now. I'm going to make it throughout the show to remind you, which is tomorrow. Hit that like, y'all, as you're coming on in. Hit that like. Tomorrow, I will be returning to bringing back another set of the episodes of background checks. So it won't just be me tomorrow, right here on my channel, Girl Is That Legal. It'll be me and the wonderful, beautiful Jessie Wu. So one of her viewers wrote in, asked for a background check, and together, Jessie and I, right here, are going to be reviewing and giving those results, y'all. And you don't want to miss it. Again, if you would like a background check, you can use the link in the description below. You just have to fill out that form and you can win a new one. So tomorrow it will be 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Honey, you don't want to miss it. And y'all, these are real people. We are doing background checks on real people that others are dating or know or whatever. We share the real results. We do redact some identifying information. And I also, to the extent necessary, may give them some legal thoughts, legal suggestions on how to handle those things. So here's what we got on the docket today, y'all. We've got, there's a little college scam, as I like to call it, that we're going to talk about that. Kanye West, of course, has lost his mind. Trump tariffs, very briefly, you know, he's always doing something. Little Rod and the Diddy case. There's a McDonald's babysitter arrest. That case really hurt my heart. And then Karlie Redd. Karlie Redd is officially getting a divorce. It has basically been about 6 months. She married last June. Well, I guess, no, it's almost a year now. But we're going to talk about that on the docket. Feel free, drop your questions as well in the chat so I can make sure as I go along, I'm going to star them and answer them as we go. So first off, I call it the college scam, but what it is here. We're going to switch to this one. So this cutie patootie here, it says Black Girl Magic. Westlake High senior Chase Matthews was accepted by 255 colleges across all 50 states. She secured $6 million in scholarships. So this part is not a scam. It is not a scam at all. She earned it all. It says this senior has achieved extraordinary feat, getting accepted into 155 schools. That is amazing. I hope she got most of those application fees waived. I would hope. She did not pay those. She got those across 50 states, getting $6 million in scholarships. Now, on Twitter, on the other hand, I've been reading these threads from parents who said, my child got a 1580 out of 1600. They were the valedictorian and they got rejected from all of the Ivies leagues that they applied to and only got into their state school, right? But I have to remind people, when you're getting into this many schools, it's also about your personal statement. But here's the thing that pissed me off about, let me see, her name is Chase Matthews, about her situation. She got all this money and not one full scholarship. Not one full scholarship. I'm sorry. If you ask me, her guidance counselor misdirected her. It does not matter how many $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 scholarships you get to individual schools if you don't have what you need to piece it all together to make it affordable. And I really wish that schools would stop encouraging students to go after these $5, $10, you know, what, it's not $10, but these smaller scholarships and help them go after the full rides. So at my college, I went to law school at Cornell. So I had a full ride to the University of Pittsburgh. When I got my full ride to Pitt, you better believe I told everyone else who was applying. I was like, listen, I got a 1300 on the SAT. I was ranked number 4 in my class. And if you have scores in that range, apply to Pitt. You may get at least full tuition. I got full tuition, room and board. Because other students don't know that versus scrounging around getting $10,000 to $10,000 here, $15,000 here to these other schools where you still got to pay a lot of money. So I just say this is for parents out here who may not know, because at the end of the day, a lot of these guidance counselors are getting, they get accolades and stuff based on the number of total scholarship students get. It really needs to be, that's cool. The smaller scholarships helps, but they really need to be encouraged to make it so students don't have to pay for school. And it's all a matter of pulling that together. I know at Cornell, we used to have, there was a list. This was for law school and like getting jobs. And I appreciated Cornell had a list that was of all the firms that offered students full-time job offers. And it would give you the average GPA of everyone they offered a job to and the lowest GPA of anyone they offered a job to. Baby, when I tell you that's how I would target who I wanted to interview with, I feel like schools should do the same for their top honor students. They have a list. They know what was the SAT score, what was the GPA of students who got full tuition to certain schools. Keep that list and use that to encourage students. That's my thought. But congratulations to Miss Matthews. I believe Spelman is her first choice, and I hope that they give her all the money that she deserves. Piece it together. Even if they don't have it all for freshman year, y'all give that lady her money. All right, next up is Crazy Kanye. So Kanye has been acting a damn fool for a while. That's no surprise. That's no surprise. We know he's a fool. Here we go. Let me see. Which one do I want to show you first? I'll show you this clip first. Kanye. So Kanye has done everything recently from accusing the Kardashians of being traffickers, saying he never wanted to have a kid with Kim, whatever, but that apparently he got her pregnant in the first 2 months of them dating and didn't want to be a baby daddy. I feel like all that is just a total lie and foolishness because, yes, he may have gotten her pregnant the first 2 months of dating, but then you continue to date her for over a year and some change and married her. So he really sounds like he's full of it. But I'm going to play you guys this clip. This is a clip that's kind of summarizing some of the latest antics and why Kim has allegedly taken him back to court out of concern for her children. I'm going to play this clip. Ciao.
The Tate brothers. According to recent reports, that appears to be the case. So as I'm sure you've all seen by now, Kanye West has been going off on Twitter about multiple things, but one of his more recent rants was targeted at his ex-wife Kim Kardashian. He accused her of trafficking after she allowed their daughter Northwest to be on a new track with FKA Twigs. And while sources who spoke to TMZ said that Kim is devastated by Kanye's recent outbursts, these TMZ sources also said that this isn't even the first time that trafficking has been a topic of conversation with Kim and Kanye, as she reportedly had to pull the plug on a recent visit that North was supposed to have with Kanye after security guards allegedly informed her that Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were going to be present. For those of you who don't know, the Tate brothers were arrested back in 2022 for allegedly running a criminal organization in Romania. They're also both facing SA lawsuits. You can understand why Kim Kardashian would not want her daughter allegedly around these two. As far as where Kim and Kanye go from here, sources who spoke to TMZ earlier this week did say that Kim Kardashian is considering amending their custody agreement. Right now, Kim and Kanye share joint legal custody of all of their kids. But with all of the things Kanye has been saying lately, Kim is reportedly concerned about her children's safety. Okay, now I want to hear your thoughts on Kanye West accusing Kim Kardashian of trafficking, even though sources say he was the one who wanted to bring his daughter around Andrew and Tristan Tate. Let me know your thoughts. And
absolutely insane. All right. Absolutely insane, right? And I don't usually side with the Kardashians. I do think their mom prostituted them absolutely to get them to where they are. And many feel that it was totally fine. The mother absolutely orchestrated that sex tape. Without her, it would not have gotten out. And I believe that even without the S tape, this family still would have been famous, that they could have been famous the wholesome way due to the fact that they are interesting. There's so many different ones of them. There's so many personalities. There's so many storylines. I don't think they needed that. Kris Kardashian needed to sell Kim Kardashian's butt naked booty to get them there. I actually think that they're entertaining enough. They could have gotten there regardless. But what has just really ticked some people off is this recent interview, and I'm going to play just a clip. It's an interview between DJ Academics and Kanye West. Here is a clip where Kanye, as you will see, is dressed as a Klansman. Hold on. About Kim. Yeah. Yes, I think it's gonna. All right, I want to know. I want your opinion in the chat. Oh, I'm so sorry you couldn't see that one. Hold on. I'm so sorry. I gotta roll that back for you guys. So sorry. Here we go. See, this is
2 months of being with her, but that wasn't God's plan. After the first 2 months of being with her, but that wasn't God's plan.
After the
Kanye West making shocking claims in a new interview with DJ Academics.
Y'all gonna pull my kids into y'all, whatever the word is, Illuminati system.
Usually the things that I like the most are controversial to other people.
The nearly 90-minute video posted to X shows the disgraced rapper in black Ku Klux Klan garb, doubling down on his recently ramped up anti-Semitic remarks, using slurs to rant about other rappers, and complaining about being a parent in the public eye.
My kids are celebrities, and I don't have to say so. It's war.
I think after having kids, it just is such a life changer. Our life is so different.
This as reports circulate claiming Kim Kardashian wants to cut off Kanye from their 4 kids.
I would
North,
too.
Saint, Psalm, and Shy.
It's not okay.
Fans have seen how Kanye's controversial comments have hurt Kim in the past as she got real on her reality show.
It sucks, you know, when someone doesn't see how different they are. You'll always hope that you'll see a glimpse of them. And
no, this man is not okay. So I want your opinion in the chat. If you were co-parenting with Kanye, would you want him to have supervised custody? Would you be okay with him being alone with those children? Because my concern is if he is saying to these kids any of the things that he's tweeting, them kids about to get put out of school if they go to school and repeat some of the foolishness. Absolutely not. And they're so impressionable because you look up to your parents. And what I've seen is especially when parents are divorced, maybe they don't spend as much time with the dad, then the time they do, they suck up every moment of it. They love everything. They want to be more and more like dad. They want to do everything like dad does. So I feel like his behavior is even more dangerous now in this environment than ever before. Also, he's clearly been diagnosed with something. I would envision as bipolar, among other things, and is not taking his medication. Now, a lot of people don't like taking their medication because they'll say, especially creatives, will say that they can't operate in the same way, that it makes them feel like a zombie, that they're not as creative, that they can't. But at this point, Kanye, nobody's buying your music right now, and you're just running around being weird and doing weird things. But I would absolutely, May J said, of course not. But I wouldn't have had multiple kids with him in the first place, right? She had, I want to say the first 2 came from her belly and the second 2 were surrogates. Adasham said, I would only do supervised with him. And honestly, I would be okay with him not being around. Yeah, he's the type, I feel like, because see, with some people, they have to hit rock bottom before they'll start listening and taking their medicine and doing all this stuff. But then there are other people and they hit rock bottom and then they stay at rock bottom and they become like the homeless person that you see on that street corner with doo-doo on the back of their pants, is because they never got out of that funk and they want to be able to do what they want. Well, also, it was in the news that Kanye made certain comments about Beyonce and Jay-Z's twins. Talking about why is it that we never see them and that they are the R word that you use to refer to people that you think aren't that smart. That's how he referred to the boy. Then at one point he walked back from it and now he's backtracking. He's not apologizing, saying, I'm not going to apologize, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you something. Those comments, in addition to being super disgusting, they really sat on my heart because, if you remember when Blue Ivy was being raised, we saw her a lot. She was like our niece. Literally, we would see her. We'd see her at the award shows, right? She'd be there sitting on mama or daddy's lap and, doing the cheers and things like that. Hit that like button, guys. We've only got 44 likes. We've got over 100 in the chat. So, Blue Ivy would be there cheering. She'd be at all these different events. We'd see her everywhere. We don't really see the twins. And something that came to me is, y'all know I went on the journey where I froze my eggs. And something that I've just personally noticed, I want to hear your thoughts on this in the chat, is that now this is related to Kanye calling the little boy, Jay-Z and Beyonce's little boy, the R word, which is a horrible, horrible thing. I don't care if he has any challenges. First of all, his parents haven't announced that. That's their business to announce. And you certainly don't make fun of any children for anything like that. But interestingly, one thing that I have realized and noticed, so people have asked me when I do my, if I ever use my eggs, do I want twins? Do I want one? Do I two? Ideally, I've always said, I'd like boy-girl twins. But my fear is that with boy-girl twins, personally, I have no scientific data for this, but I have personally seen that the boy of boy-girl twins is more likely to be autistic upon birth. The boy, not the girl. This comes from in college. I was the freshman class co-president with another girl. And she told me she was a twin. And I was like, oh, does your twin go here too? She said, no, he's autistic. I said, okay. I just kept, and she was the one that told me, she said, yeah, it's common that if there are boy-girl twins, the boy will have it, the girl will not. And then I dated this guy and he was it was gorgeous, but he was odd, really odd. Ultimately, I'm pretty sure he's somewhere on the spectrum. And he was a twin. And then there's, of course, the very famous Holly Robinson Peete. She has a son. She's a huge supporter of autism awareness. She has a son who is a twin, and the son is autistic and not the daughter. Yes, Holly Robinson Peete. So I just want to know, has anyone else noticed that trend? And either way, I send love and prayers to Beyonce and her family as they are navigating this. I think those children are 8 years old now. So that is absolutely disgusting to be talking about. But also, I can't help but think, given Beyonce's platform, if there were ever a mom who God believed could handle it, it would be a mom. I am guessing, this is my guess based on my relationship with the Lord, that I could see the Lord giving that kind of blessing to someone like Beyonce to help other moms and dads who are dealing with it realize your son or your daughter could be just fine. And there are so many different creative ways that they can give to this world, and that it is not the end of your world in the same way that Holly Robinson Peete has. Overthought said, I thought something might be very wrong, but like you said, they didn't announce it. If you think about it too, how the hell do you announce that to strangers? And why would you? If this time he's only 8 years old, if I were a parent dealing with that, especially a super duper celebrity, remember with her first child, they try to say she was never even pregnant with her, right? So the media just be making stuff up and they give them the total blues. I would probably wait until closer to maybe my child is a teenager or older. Because, okay, me telling you that about my 8-year-old, you're never going to meet my 8-year-old. You're never going to come around my 8-year-old. La la la. So yeah, I don't know, but I want to see her. Autism is high in boys. No, that's very, very true. Yep. Yeah, a lot of people drag Blue Ivy too. Yep. I wouldn't show my kids either. We'd already seen Blue Ivy too at that point. Oh, great. Adasham is saying, yes, my son's autistic and he is higher on the spectrum. It was a rough start. He's 17 now, an honor roll student, and he's my special little boy. Yeah, the guy that I dated, he did a type of engineering because a lot of autistic students are really good in a specific area. His happened to be computers. I went to law school with the guy who is extremely good at contracts and writing and like punctuation. So he was on law review. He never had any errors in his articles that he wrote. He was superior. Yep, you're right. They tore up talking about Blue Ivy's hair as a toddler. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. So those are my thoughts on Kanye. I think he's a horrible, ridiculous person at this point. He needs to get on his medication because he's not taking it. He doesn't deserve anybody's grace at this point. Yes, he is running around like a motherless child, but at this point, he is making the conscientious choice to be I don't want to say a terrorist. I don't want to say the T word, but he is making a conscientious choice to literally give his ex-wife hell, to give the public hell, to give Black people, to give anybody he don't like hell. And he thinks it's cute and funny, but he's going to die a very lonely death if he keeps this up. All right, next up, real quick, we're going to talk about y'all's president's tariffs. I want you to hear this, and I'm going to tell you why this is stupid. I just want to give you a few quick facts about tariffs. Feel free to repeat these sound bites because people are getting it very wrong, and I want you to get it very right. Here we go.
On all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been seeing, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think, and this is very modest. And what we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at. And we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been seeing, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think, and this is very modest.
Business is coming
back.
What
we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at.
All right. He says, all right, I just played that twice. My bad, y'all. But he's saying business will come back to the United States in response to tariffs. No, and hell no. That's not how that works. And I want you to be very clear. Some people, especially on the right, keep repeating this. Oh, because of the tariffs, people are going to buy American vehicles. First of all, listen, stupid. This is not you, viewer. This is to the president. Here's what's stupid about that. There is no vehicle made in America. There is no vehicle made in America where 100% of the component parts are also from America. They have component parts from other countries. That's how come during the pandemic, there was this huge shortage in vehicles. It wasn't because fewer people were driving. No. It was because there were two main things that happened. And I know this because at the time I was dating a car salesman. It was number one, there was some type of there was a ship that was caught in the Panama Canal or the Suez Canal, whatever, the Panama Canal. And that ship that got stuck there prevented the transportation of component parts of vehicles that were needed from other countries, even though the final vehicle would be put together in America. Number two, there was a time where there was a Chinese plant that had burnt down, and that plant made a specific component part that every auto manufacturer in the world used, and they still use it. So all vehicles, even the American-made vehicles, are going to be more expensive for the reason that component parts make them more expensive. Secondly, and this is what is very important and disgusting about capitalism. So the tariff's going to be 25%, right? For the vehicle. So let's just assume that there were some American-made vehicles that had no component parts where nothing about them would be impacted because everything that's used to make that car would come from America. Here's how American companies work and how the tariff law works. How American companies work is they're like, oh, so you mean my competitor's vehicle is now going to be 25% more expensive? Cool. I'm going to raise my price 20%. It's still a 5% discount. That's why we're screwed. That's why we lose. Is because it doesn't force people to buy American more. Because what happens is the American companies up the cost of the goods. But you know what doesn't increase? Our salaries. Them people working in that factory ain't going to be making not a dime more. And if they try, whenever they try to increase minimum wage, what happens? The Republicans shoot it down and say, well, we can't afford it. Oh, we shouldn't be paying people $15 an hour to bag groceries. At this point, if you leave your house and you're working a job with your panties on, you should probably be making at least $20 an hour. You probably should, because the cost of living today with inflation and everything else. Remember there was a day and age when, like, my parents had jobs. You could literally have a job working at a shoe store and own a home and take care of a family of 4. I mean, this was Al Bundy, but still. I knew of people whose parents' jobs were managers of a grocery store, totally blue collar jobs, service merchandise, working at Montgomery Ward's as a manager. My uncle worked at Sears his entire life. He was a dispatcher. If your appliance didn't work, he would dispatch. Now he's a supervisor of the dispatcher. His entire life, you could have those jobs. But now people are upset that people working at the mall want $20 an hour. So yeah, and $20 an hour is not anything anymore. A Starbucks, you really can't get out of Starbucks spending less than $10. So to say the minimum wage is $7, you got to work a whole hour for some coffee? Hit that like button, y'all. So the main things about tariffs is, with tariffs, most everything that is made has at least with the vehicles, all those vehicles require component parts from other countries. So the cost the cost will be going up, but also American companies are going to raise prices once because they know that their competitors are going to have to charge more to pass along the tariffs. So they ain't slick. All right, next up, y'all. Now I know you guys, people have talked about this case already, but I really want to be clear on something. This is the case of Little Rod versus Diddy. Now it says Diddy scores a small legal victory in the Little Rod suit. You may have heard other bloggers talk about it, but I'm about to tell you what this means legally. Hit that like button. What this means legally. Now, remember, Little Rod is the guy who alleged trafficking. He alleged all these different things against Diddy, and he was the first male to come out against Diddy. He had that very elaborate petition that included photos of Justin Bieber, photos of Diddy and like one of the princes, all this stuff that didn't have nothing to do with nothing. When I read that petition, I lost, God, I hate to say things like this about attorneys in public, but I lost a lot of respect for the way in which it was written. I won't say for the lawyer, but the way in which I didn't like the way it was written. I didn't respect it because I thought this is just to argue in the court of public opinion. And more than that, I thought a lawyer who's really worth his salt wouldn't have done all this, because some of what he put in that petition, he's going to have to back up, and he doesn't even have enough facts to know if he can. Sure enough, at the end of the day, Little Rod's lawsuit was all based on breach of contract. Little Rod said he had worked for Diddy for over a year and never got paid. So at the end of the day, he didn't say he didn't get paid, he was offered, I want to say it was only like $20,000 or $29,000. He felt he should have been paid much more for his work, for his beats, and for his time. Breach of contract. At the end of the day, if Diddy had paid him what he believed his time was worth, this lawsuit would have never been filed, right? I think anyone can agree with that. Here's why this ruling, this dismissal is so clutch and so key. It's because the judge dismissed the breach of contract. The whole core of the entire lawsuit was dismissed. The core claim. Now, other claims were allowed to stay. The trafficking was allowed to stay, but the breach of contract and the intentional infliction of emotional distress and the RICO claims got to go. Let me tell you something. First class I took in law school, contracts. First thing we learned, breach of contract. Second thing we learn is when there's a breach of contract, which types of contracts must be in writing. I'm like, how do you lose on a breach of contract case against a celebrity of this monumental? Here's how. It's because the lawyer, Vernice asked, was the lawyer new lawyer? No, Tyrone Blackburn is a lawyer. He's not new. he represented the woman who had the civil suit against Nicki Minaj and her husband because they had threatened her and done a few things with her. He represented, I want to say he represented another one of Diddy's victims. I think he might have been willing to take the girl that was a little nutty. The one who said mustard on that beat. Oh, that one. Name starts with the A. You know what I'm talking about, that alleged victim of Diddy's. But no, he's not new at all. Tyrone Blackburn, he's been in, I want to say he's represented one of the victims against Trey Songz or Chris Brown. So he's been in it. Now, he's never, to my knowledge, won a verdict or public settlement against any celebrity. So you got to be careful when you go to a lawyer because you've heard he represents other people against celebrities. Your question is, but how much money have you settled against that person? And when you're asking for a lawyer, you can ask that lawyer in private, have you settled and received over 6 figures against these people? And they can tell you that in private. But here's the real thing that just blew my mind. So you get the breach of contract dismissed. That was literally the basis of the RICO claim. It was the basis of the entire lawsuit. Again, if he had been paid his money, he wouldn't have sued. Here's how he got the breach of contract dismissed. Because the court said, hey, under New York law, which is what was prevailing there, under New York law, whenever there's a contract that cannot be performed in under a year, it must be in writing. Little Rod worked for him per his own petition for over a year, which means the contract could not be performed in under a year. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why even the breach of contract was dismissed. So when I tell you that seemed like a real basic mistake, listen, here's how it could have been cured. All I have to say is they had a 1-year agreement. Boom, you can proceed. Say they had a 1-year agreement. You can proceed. It's called the statute of frauds. Under the statute of frauds, if a contract cannot be performed within a year, you gotta have it in writing. So like if you have a 2-year lease, 2-year lease must be in writing. Because otherwise, if it's a 1-year agreement, at the end of that year, it's over, right? If it's a 3-month agreement, at the end of the 3 months, it's over. But you don't run into situations like this where someone claims they worked with you for over a year and some change and never got paid and never got this and never got that. Yo, what's it on that beat? Yes. Somebody said, I don't understand why people go to him. No, absolutely. So I just want to make sure you guys understand that the reason Little Rod's case, the majority of his case got dismissed is because he had no written contract. And the law is very clear in New York. If it's something that will take over a year to do, you got to have it in writing. We learned that in law school. All right. So that's a Little Rod. Ugh, that is just a hot mess. Little Rod. Oh, this case just really broke my heart. Here we go. All right. Make sure y'all can see it. A Georgia father. We need to talk about this one. A 24-year-old. He's only 24. Bless his heart. 24-year-old Augusta, Georgia man was arrested after allegedly leaving 3 young kids alone at McDonald's while he attended a nearby job interview. Chris Lewis faces a charge of deprivation of a minor. That's what it's called. According to authorities, a customer alerted police after noticing that the children ages 1, 6, and 10 were unattended in the restaurant's indoor play area. Mind you, they were playing on the play stuff. Witnesses reported seeing Lewis with the children around 4:30 before he left and returned briefly and then left again. He was detained by deputies when he returned around 6:18. So that was a little less than 2 hours. So they weren't even away 2 hours, maybe closer to an hour and a half. Lewis told officers he had walked to the restaurant with the kids and left them there because he did not own a car and did not want to bring them to his job interview. Now, mind you, this man is 24. That means he had his first kid at 14. Another one at, I guess that'd be, bless his heart, 18. And then one a year ago. First of all, I said the children's mother arrived shortly afterwards and took custody. Lewis was taken into custody at the scene. What do y'all think in the comments? Do you think he should have been arrested? Let me tell you this. I was babysitting my siblings at home. My sister was 2. My brother was, I guess we're 2.5 years apart. So if I was 10, He would have been 8 or whatever. I was babysitting them at home by myself, and I was whipping people too. I had spanked people as necessary. If I was 10, my sister was 3. I was watching everybody after school because we couldn't afford daycare, and I have a mama and a daddy in my household. But also, y'all, this made me really mad when I stopped and I thought about my job. I used to work at Wet n Wild called Hurricane Harbor. I was a lifeguard. Do you know these parents who didn't look like me, these parents would buy a season pass to Six Flags, drop their kids off when the park would open, which was around 10 a.m., and come back after work and pick them up. We were literally public babysitters and the police were never called on them. Not ever. I mean, and these kids would just run rampant. I'm talking 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, whatever. And so it made me think when I saw that, okay, these kids were on the playground, dad's thinking, all right, they'll be entertained. They're going to play here. I got food for them. They're going to be eating. It's a public place. So technically there will be people around. They won't be alone by themselves. It's trouble. It makes me wonder, should he have, I want to know too, would anyone in the chat, would y'all have felt better if he had left them at home in the privacy of their home, cartoons, food, or whatever, left for 2 hours and come back? I think the argument is some people just feel like a 10-year-old is not responsible enough to watch a 1-year-old. I say it depends on the 10-year-old. Like I said, I was 10, I was watching a 3-year-old, but I understand the argument because I know some really stupid kids. It's a lot of stupid kids. It's a lot of bad kids. Let me read some of these comments. He said, the father was wrong. I just wish he wasn't charged. He needs proper guidance, resources, and to learn from this. Yeah, they need to give him one of those vouchers for Section 8 daycare, whatever that is. Says, I don't think he should have been arrested. He didn't leave them in a car and he came back. That's important. Yeah, leaving them in a car is definitely super dangerous. Because remember, there are people who left them in a car, went into a job interview and got in trouble for that too. Here's me too. I was the oldest and I had to watch my younger siblings and they would get smacked up sometimes if they got out of line. I took that being the oldest to heart. A lady I met, Starlin said, a lady I met volunteering at the library asked me to watch her child while she went on an interview. Of course I helped. He should have asked someone there to help. And you know what? That's an interesting point. But I wonder, with him being a Black man, looking like he looks, he's not necessarily what would be considered a sympathetic victim. I could see him asking someone and that same person calling the police on him too. So sad, bless his heart. I don't think he should have been arrested. First of all, I hope he gets a job. I'm gonna tell you that. I don't know who he was interviewing with, but if you are an employer, and I believe that was Augusta. Hold on, what is this? In Augusta. If you are an employer in Augusta, Georgia, please give this man a job when he come out of jail. Yeah, I hate that he left him, but even more so, where's the village to help him? I promise if he had asked me to stand outside the interview and watch the kids, I would have. We all need help. Y'all, this makes me think of this woman I know. Her baby daddy, so she had failed the bar the first time she took it. So she studied really hard, was excited, getting ready to take it the second time. She brought the kid over to the baby daddy's house. He was supposed to keep the kid for the day. The baby daddy was mad at her for something or another. I can't even remember what. And refused to answer the door. She had to decide, was she going to try and bring the child? I want to say the child was 3 or 4. Try to bring the child to the bar exam? Like, you can't study with that. Or miss the bar. She had to miss the bar exam. That's like failing it twice. You don't get your money back when you don't show up. And it's expensive to take. It's about $1,000 each time. Not to mention, it's only offered twice a year. February and July. Oh, and then when you don't get your February results till like April or May. So really, when you miss it, you can't get employment in the law for another year because you got to wait till the next time. So she missed it in February. She can't sit for it again until July. Don't get the results till October, November, which means it's February where she was prepping. She won't even be able to get money, earn money as an attorney until at the absolute earliest November. And this was February when this happened. When I said I wanted to tear him up for her, I was like, look, I can't risk my license, but we could all put on set it off masks. And I think that we could go over there and we could definitely knock some pens and pencils on the floor. Okay. We could definitely shake a doorknob or two. You know, we might be able to toilet paper his house or something like that. But I was like, he needs some ramifications. So I say that to say, when people are like, what about the village? Sometimes it's people in your village that are sabotaging your success. And that's unfortunate. All right. Last but not least, we got Miss Karlie Redd, child. Miss Karlie Redd. All right, Miss Karlie Redd will reportedly receive $18,000 a month in temporary spousal support following her divorce from T-Lou Belton. It says Love and Hip Hop star Karlie Redd is single again after divorcing her ex-husband, aka T Da Vinci, according to court documents. Now he owns it's like a streaming channel that's called like Now That's TV or something like that. It says, according to court documents, she's been awarded temporary spousal support of $18,537 a month. Belton was also ordered to stay away from her and have no contact with her. If you recall, the two got engaged in June and they married sometime after. Records state he was arrested and charged with family DV in February. He allegedly punched her with a closed fist during an altercation when he accused her of just getting home, I guess getting home too late. He also threw 2 phones on the ground and later apologized. He was booked and released on a $2,000 bond. That says it was misdemeanor. It was misdemeanor. So here's the temporary order. It says the court, having considered the pleadings, the evidence, the arguments, and testimony from both sides and the law, grants the wife's motion for temporary relief and orders the husband stay away and have no contact and give her this spousal support. It's going to continue start on March 15th and continue the 15th day of each month until further. The court can review this at the 60-day status mark. Now, let me see. I'm going to read to you what happened under the probable cause statement. It says, all right, on February 21st at approximately 1825, so that's like 6:30. In reference to a domestic report, an officer arrived. It says, upon my arrival, I was met by another sergeant, and the caller was later identified as Carly Lewis. Date of birth, 73. Hold on. 73, 83, 93, 03, 13, 23, 50. Oh. Okay, she's 52. Okay. Well, that's a good-looking 52-year-old. Okay, who advised that she and her husband is later identified as whatever his name is. Damn, he's only born in 1989. God dang. Okay, hey, cougar. They were in a physical altercation earlier that morning. Miss Lewis advised she was reluctant to report the incident, but was encouraged by her attorney to report it. You go, girl, to the police, as she should. Miss Lewis advised that at approximately 6 a.m., he came to the location, I guess that was the home, and accused her of just getting home. Miss Lewis then advised that he began to leave the room, which prompted her to ask where he planned to leave to, in which he advised that he responded by striking her in the chin with a closed pow-pow. I then flashed a light on her chin, in which I observed no bruising, but Miss Lewis advised she had slight soreness in the area. Miss Lewis then advised that after she was struck by him, that he threw her 2 cell phones on the ground before returning to apologize for the incident. Miss Lewis then advised that she and him then went to sleep, followed by him leaving the home at approximately 11 a.m. DV investigator then advised of the situation, and Miss Lewis was issued an incident number regarding the incident, as well as instructions on how to get a copy of the report. As I was speaking with her, Mr. Lewis arrived to the location and was detained after a brief scuffle due to non-compliance, which resulted in him being assisted to the ground. Mr. Belton then advised that he suffered no injuries as a result of the detainment. Police have to do that now, so that if you later come back and say the police hurt me, they have in the report, well, you said you weren't hurt before. It said DV violence, simple. He was charged with simple battery based on the details of the incident. Between he and Miss Lewis, he was then taken into custody. Belton advised that he wanted his diamond chain with a diamond pendant, his diamond Rolex, $300 cell phone, Carmex lip balm, headphones, documents, and vehicle to be released to his assistant, later identified as Colleen Shakur Pascal. Charlene was born, in 1998. Okay, these brand new babies, in which those items were. Mr. Belton was then transported by the Atlanta police. Okay. Child, let me tell you something. Karlie. Yeah, at this point, it's okay to be alone. I know it's hard because you want a certain lifestyle, Karlie. But girl, you did the right thing filing this police report and filing for divorce because it ain't worth this money. It ain't worth this money. Here we go. It ain't worth this money. This man gonna knock you on your chin today. And then if he gets away with it, he's going to be even more brazen. Yeah, somebody said, Karlie do need to get a job. Yeah. Now, and here's the thing. So let's talk divorce court and realistically what she's going to get. Don't get too excited here now, Miss Karlie. You're getting the $18,000 spousal support, and that's likely because you were more dependent upon him. But here's the challenge. Hold on. Let me see if I still have it up. Dang it. It timed out. Here's the challenge. Y'all weren't married, but a hot second, but a hop, skip, and a jump. Okay. You got engaged in June. We don't know exactly when you married, but divorce was filed for in February, which means you couldn't have really got used to too much of a lifestyle, and the court knows it. So more than likely, this $18K that she's getting, she might get for 3 months. She might get for 6 months. And right now, it's just a temporary order. Now, if he received during the course of the marriage some amazing contract that's going to be paid out during the marriage, she might be able to get a percentage of that too if there's no prenup as a component of the family assets. But again, the issue is they haven't been married for a second. And so therefore, there aren't going to be a lot of assets she's going to be entitled to. She can't really argue she got accustomed to this standard of living because you can't do that in 6 months. It doesn't go by how long you've been dating. It goes by how long you've been married. Now, I'm going to delve deeper into the court documents. I actually had just begun pulling them up. So check back tomorrow for a session on that. But also, make sure you come back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, because I am bringing back the background check episode. Specifically, myself and Jesse, we will be right here tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern. And we will be here really giving a free background check and giving those results live to one of her viewers. The viewer has no idea what we're going to present her with. All of this is going to be live. Oh, you want the Marquise Houston situation? Let me look him up. I will look him up. But again, thanks you guys for joining. I'm your legal bestie. Drop below what other topics you want me to cover, and make sure you tune back in tomorrow for background checks with Simone and Jesse Wu. Sorry. Bye-bye.